Welcome to Fall into the Vortex with Yolie, where we talk about all things love. Fall into the vortex with Yolie. Fall into the vortex. Hey y'all, welcome to Fall into the Vortex with Yolie. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am tonight. Not just because it's the first or it's the premiere of Fall into the Vortex with Yolie, but it's Who's with Yolie tonight. I'm just gonna dive right into his bio, then I'll talk a little bit, real quickly, about the format of the show so you know what to expect, and then we don't know what will happen because we're just gonna dive into conversation. It is my humility, humble, everything that I come to, that I bring you Abiodun Oyewole. Abiodun Oyewole grew up Charles Franklin Davis in Queens, New York. He is a poet, a teacher, a founding member of the music and spoken word group, y'all got that right, The Last Poets, which was born on May 19th, 1968, the anniversary of Brother Malcolm's birthday. The Last Poets laid the groundwork for the emergence of hip hop. Oyewole performed on The Last Poets albums, The Last Poets 1970, Holy Terror 1993, The Time Has Come 1997, and their most recent album, Understand What Black Is 2018. He received his BS in biology and a BS in communications at Shaw University, an MA in education at Columbia University, and he is a Columbia Charles H. Revson Fellow. As one of the founding members of The Last Poets, Abiodun Oyewole has dedicated over 50 years of using poetry to articulate, glorify, and protest the impurities of the Black experience worldwide, and in America, particularly. Since Abiodun's first recording with The Last Poets, his work has had a profound influence across the hip hop landscape, having been sampled by the likes of Notorious B.I.G., NWA, A Tribe Called Quest, Brand Nubians, and countless others. Phrases he coined like party and bullshit have become a mainstay in the hip hop lexicon. Today, he continues to spread his message as a performer, touring the world with The Last Poets, as an educator teaching kids in arts education in New York City schools, and as an artist collaborating with notable rappers such as Nas, Common, and Dead Prez on award-winning albums. Abiodun has also made an unwavering commitment to the next generation of conscious young minds. A labor of love to close for 40 years, Brother Dune has opened up his home every Sunday to poets, to rappers, to singers, philosophers, teachers, students, fans, and everyday people who have an appreciation for the arts and yearn to be around love and Black consciousness. The initial purpose of Sundays at 110 was to give aspiring poets a platform to share their work and receive feedback from a giant in the arts. Over the years, Sundays at 110 has grown into so much more, becoming a cultural institution in the Harlem community with food, political conversation, music, and a fellowship that has touched thousands of people. Brother Dune, I cannot tell you how my heart is singing.
You know what, you just killed me. I'm dead, I'm finished.
Well, I'm doubly dead, just the fact that I'm in your presence.
I'm finished. You know, I mean, I don't think about those things that I've done in my life. I'm just looking forward to moving forward and to continuing the work, because I feel, Yolanda, that all of us here, we have an assignment, and I'm just trying to fulfill my assignment. We all have something that we must do while we're here, and I want to do whatever it is that I've decided to do. I want to do it well. And people always talk about how much I've influenced or changed them. Folks don't realize they've changed me.
Yes.
You can only, when people expect you to be a certain person, one that gives them information that helps them find answers to certain questions that they may have, they'll give you a lot of credit. But in order for you to take the advice that I'm giving means you believe in what I'm saying.
That's
And that
right.
gives me confidence in what I'm thinking about and what I'm doing with my life. It's a two-way street. It doesn't come lopsided. I am grateful. I have been blessed by my people. And one thing I know about Black people in particular, when Black people love you, they love you.
Yes, we know how to love.
No, if nothing else, matter of fact, love has been, and your book, The Vortex, out clearly. Matter of fact, let me say this, since we're dealing with your love from The Vortex. You were like, She's Gotta Have It. Remember?
Wow.
Remember She's Gotta Have It by.
Yes, but Spike Lee, yes,
That
amazing,
was
iconic
Spike.
film. Yes.
It was his classic, and it doesn't get to play it deserves because she wasn't a hoe. She was a sister who made decisions. She was a sister who was in charge of herself. Your love from The Vortex explicitly is on the same page. I was just upset that sister didn't get much work because she was fine. I thought she was convincing.
Yes.
And I don't. Oh, but did she do any other movies? And I don't think she did any other movies. And I couldn't understand her save my life because she was a star.
Well, we know Hollywood. We know how
You should say Holly Weird.
Holly Weird. But Brother Abiodun, let my heart be still for a moment, because before we get into Love from the Vortex, I want to ask you, and I want to share with our viewers the format of the show. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to ask you to read or recite or share whatever it is that you want to share with us. Then after that, I'm going to ask that you please indulge my work and read and share a poem that touched you somehow. And then we're going to flow in conversation for about 20 minutes or so. The show, it's only going to be about 30, 40 minutes long, but that's our format. So I just want to say, the fact that you would even put me in anywhere next to something that Spike Lee has created is a blessing for me. And I want to say peace be upon you for everything that you have done for us and with us, and that you will continue to do even right now in this moment as you spend this time with me.
Thank you.
I want to open up and have you share whatever it is you would like to share.
All right. Well, you mentioned earlier some of the groups that I've worked with, like Nas and Chuck D actually is another one, and who was the other person?
Biggie, Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah, and of course Melly Mel. We got to mention Melly Mel because Melly Mel is truly a genius that doesn't get the props he deserves. We got to recognize that Melly Mel was the one that came up with the line that's probably more universally known than any other hip hop line, and that is "Don't push me, cause I'm close
to the
edge. I'm trying
not to lose my head."
So I've had the pleasure of working with some word warriors who I really appreciate and admire. I was Dead Prez. Those young brothers are friends of mine. And I was in the studio when they first were doing their very first album, and I was recording something I'd written for the album because they asked me to participate. And on my way out of the door, after I had shared with them what I came down there to share, I heard a nice melodic track, and it was just a sweet track. And because I'm really musically inclined, music is really the hub of my creative existence, I stopped and told the brother, I think I told M1, I said, man, that's a nice track. And so he said to me, he said, brother, if you got something to go with it, jump in the studio and do something because, you know, we appreciate your work. And I said, yeah, I got something I think can work with that. So I'm gonna do with you the piece that was on a CD track that they had called Mind Sex. And Mind Sex, when you consider how pervasive many of the hip hop artists are when it comes to talking about sex, these brothers took it to a whole nother place.
Wow.
Said, you know, you don't have to take your clothes off yet. Let's just chill, relax. Let's have a salad with some, let's chill out on the futon. Let's have a salad with some croutons. You know, I mean, it was really a whole nother attitude.
Yes.
As well as let's jump into bed and hit it.
The mind is where
Mind sex, right.
It's the mind. And if you're sitting with a sister Our sisters are so intellectual. You have to get to our minds first.
That's it. That's where the love comes. Because the other stuff, the body piece, that's cheap.
Yes.
If my mind's not there, we ain't doing nothing. You know, so it's very important. So I went in the studio and I did a piece called Black Rose, and it's probably, to me, it was I've written a few love poems, but this is probably my first really serious classic in The Last Poets, because we had a whole suite of love poems, and mine was Black Rose. So for you and all of your listeners and watchers, she smiles and I smile. She walks, no, she glides softly by me, changing night into day. She opens her mouth to speak, and soul sounds ring in my head. She speaks, and I want to dance to her rhythm. She moves ever so gently, increasing my desires to place my arms around her waist and hold and squeeze her to me. I want to melt into her body and discover the base of her warmth, her beautiful black body that no human mind could ever conceive. She's love, she's truth, she's real as the stars that shine in the heavens, as real as the sun that bathes her body, as real as the moon that glows, and the birds that sing, and the rose that blossoms in spring. For she is that rose, and not just any rose, but a black rose that dwells on the hill and looks at the world, a black rose that stands taller and stronger than any other plant, a black rose that never loses her petals and blossoms all year round, black rose, a creator of nations, black rose, sweet rose, thornless rose, eternal rose. Please look my way.
Oh my goodness.
Now,
wow, that was beautiful. And you know, as you were reciting, Brother Dune, it kind of took me to Stevie Wonder's Secret Life of Plants. And just that beautiful album that for me is an ode to Black women, seeing us as the beautiful flowers that we are. I personally thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, you know what? It was easy because you are truly a flower, and there's no doubt about that. And and then the fact that you don't mind sharing your fragrance. I mean, which is another thing, because you have some sisters who are flowers, but they stay locked up in the closet, and they don't know how to really express. You don't have that fear. I will say this: that poem has really gotten me some interesting. We had a gig in South Africa about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And when we got off the plane, there was a crew of young people waiting to see us right there in the lobby of the airport. And this young, beautiful black girl ran to me and says, "I'm your black rose."
Wow.
Because she was listening to Dead Prez, and she decided that she knew I was the person that had written it. So she had a girlfriend with her. She was a beautiful girl. And I said, "Well, if you're my black rose, I'm in South Africa for about a couple of weeks. I got to see Durban, Cape Town. I need an escort." And she says, "Oh, I can come." I said, "Yes." He said, "Can my girlfriend come?" So for 2 weeks, I had that sister and another sister be my escorts in South Africa, just behind the poem. But she was also a poet too.
What, you know, what you're just saying is the potential and the beauty. And I think about The Last Poets, and I think about all that you have moved us, the three of you. And I was recently watching, before I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago, I was just recently watching some of your videos. And it was one where the three of you had engaged in everything from Obama to Hillary. You were just really, you know, getting down on some real issues. And I sat there thinking, that y'all have been doing this with us, to us, for us, for decades.
Yeah.
For decades. And so I just want to, again, just say thank you for that. Thank you for Black Rose. And I can see those sisters. I mean, the beauty and the power of poetry is that it does bring us together. And when there were moments where this world was trying to rip our guts up and rip us apart as a people, The Last Poets was a clarion call for our unity.
The fact is that no one has suffered more, have endured more. We talk about the black men who have been hung, and we still see the hanging. We talk about black men who have been shot down. But the one who suffers more than any of us is a sister, because you have always been the backbone of the entire family. You'll carry the culture. You are the ones that nurse the men into from boys to men. I mean, I tell people all the time, it's the woman in me that's offended by the things that are happening. No one really gives a woman respect. I can't believe that we're in a world that wouldn't even allow the woman to vote until 1920. It's insane.
It's insane.
I mean, that's great. I mean, and to think that black women, not only did we wipe your shitty ass, feed you, breastfeed you, black women had to do that for themselves, for their children, and for white folks. We have done that for America. Oprah Winfrey, I used to say all the time, when she came on at 4 o'clock on her regular show, she was that big tit on the screen that white folks would run and suck that screen, get that milk, because what we bring to them is a whole life force that they cannot give to themselves. And they are constant. And the problem that we have right now with all this pandemics is that when we start pulling away from them, that's when they dislike us. As long as we're serving them, it's fine. But if we start to serve ourselves, do a Black Wall Street, no, you can't have no Black Wall Street.
Right.
You're gonna do a road, no, you can't. We must be in the mix. And wherever you are, we're gonna come and find you. So the regenerification process is always going on. They need us more than we realize that. But right now, we're at a point where we need each other.
Yes, and I feel that we are, as someone who is actively on social media, I do feel that we are recognizing that and heeding the call and loving on each other in a very, very public way. And as we go out and do this work, remembering our ancestors very, very deliberately, remembering the folks who are holding us up and carrying it on.
Yes.
And so what I want to say to you is your poetry and your political stance are intertwined. And for me, there's the space there is healing. And in my case, this was poetry that I wrote to free and heal myself. But very much, there's some poems in here that talk about growing up in the South Bronx and the beauty of that talk about justice, that talk about, being worthy of the generation that's coming behind. So I'm hoping that you can also see in my work that, this is as much as the political and the personal, but it really is about healing. And for me, The Last Poets has been about healing us.
Now, your poetry, I like to say that in reading your book, your poetry is thorough. You didn't cut corners. You gave me a real thorough view. I mean, I especially love the whole section of Black and Blue, because you see a lot. I mean, that's significant in more ways than one, because we're dealing with but I'll give you an example. Back in '69, we had a crew of people. There's a group of young ladies, somewhat like yourself, smart and attractive, who had an organization in Harlem called the Harlem Committee for Self-Defense. And they were bad sisters. All of these sisters were brilliant. We have arguments a lot because they were pushing Marxism-Leninism. They were coming from that whole socialist point of view. They probably would have loved Sanders because that's what he talks about. The fact is that I argued all the time that I was a Black nationalist. I don't want to hear about that German dude, Marx, and none of them characters. So we would argue. But they knew if they needed a man, they could come to me because I was going to be there for them, because I love the sisters. And it was very, very important that we have some sisters that we know who have the brains and have the respect. And there is still that force, that energy exists, and you represent a lot of that.
Right.
And I think that it's important that we realize that the sisters' role in everything that's ever happened in this world is key, is vital. And if we don't respect that, change is not going to take place. Like, I don't like the fact that Breonna Taylor got killed and nobody was charged.
Right.
I mean, yet, we went ape over what happened with George Floyd because it was pro social media. But there are other situations that happen all the time. Like I did a thing recently. I found out about this sister named Amy Spain. Back when slavery was when the Union Army was coming into a southern area, she was a 17-year-old girl. She got excited. She got a little too jubilant. Anyway, they arrested her and said she stole something. They had a hanging of her. We don't hear about this. Amy
No, we
Swain.
don't. No, we
Go
don't.
online and check this out. It's very important that we recognize the value and the worth of our sisters throughout time, because that's the only way we're going to really find a way to truly heal ourselves. Your book, when I was reading your stuff, I felt the healing was there because you were going inside. You were dealing with your personal feelings and your passion. And you see, that passion should never die. That's important. But some people, they have passion, it's there, it's a bright, burning fire, and then it's not received properly. It's not used, it's abused as opposed to being celebrated. And then they become passionless. They become cold and icy. And that's unfortunate. We've got quite a few of those folks walking around.
Yeah.
And I feel very badly. But your book is one of the few books that I've truly read that deals with love in its entirety. You're not giving us a short change of it. You're making us see love inside out.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. I don't really have much to say. I really just want to listen to you. I will say thank you for bringing up Black and Blue. So Black and Blue and target practice, and these poems talk about a very difficult relationship that I had with a brother who chose to have a career as a police officer. And throughout my lifetime and my communities, we've always been on the other side of the police.
Listen, let me tell you this.
But he was Black before he was blue.
Yeah, but let me give you this. When we took over where the state office building is, you're familiar with the state office building, right?
Yes.
In '69, we tried to stop it from going up. This Harlem Committee for Self-Defense. And in us trying to do that, Rockefeller was smart enough not to send the bulldozers on July 1st, because that's when they were supposed to start excavation of the land to build the state office building. The young ladies in the Harlem Committee for Self-Defense, they knew this. They gave me money to go get all these watermelons. I had about 38 watermelons, and they cut them up in slices. It looked like enough slices for everybody in Harlem. So we had a bunch of people come onto the site because they were getting free watermelon. It was a hot day, and in the morning, no bulldozers showed up. So we took the land over. Then we had to put a speaker up on top of the bus. We had one of those cheese buses on the site. And we wanted to let people know why we had taken the land over, what we were there for. We didn't want people to see us as vagrants, as squatters. So we would explain the whole reason for the takeover. And there were a bunch of white cops in that area of Adam Clayton Powell. It wasn't Adam Clayton Powell then, it was just 7th Avenue and 125th Street. A bunch of white cops. And the brothers and sisters at the time, the expression back then was off the pig. The cop was known as a pig. So the brothers would be walking by and say, off the pig, and it's intimidating the cops, because that's what the time it was. The next day, every single Black cop who worked on the force in New York City was surrounding the site.
Wow.
And the brothers and sisters would still say, man, you ain't nothing but a pig. You a blue pig. They weren't. What I did, Yolanda, is I got on that microphone that was on top of that cheese bus, and I announced, I said, brothers and sisters, do not harass the brothers in blue. They'll know who to shoot at when the revolution hits. They're not going to shoot you. They're members of your family. They'll know what to do. Do not harass the brothers in blue. They're brothers. They only have a job. Do not harass them. They are still our brothers. I ran that down all day. The next day, every single brother was white.
No way.
They changed it back to white, like I had gotten to their heads. But when I read your Black and Blue piece, I was thinking, this could have been a conscious brother. Yes, we do have some brothers who have sipped the Kool-Aid, so to speak, and they're no longer members of our family. We know we've got quite a few traitors, so to speak, but we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. You get a job, and you're thinking you're going to make some changes in this job. You take on that uniform, you don't realize it's an indoctrination, and you're there to serve the master.
Wow. I can't believe that our time is already coming to a close, but what I would love for you to do if you have the book nearby, could you turn to Black and Blue and just read a stanza or two? I just want to hear your voice. This is going to be the most beautiful part for me of this show, to hear the voices of others, you know, speak my words into the world. And so whatever stanza or two that your heart goes to, or maybe
this is the one I chose.
Tell me, what page are you on? Because I'm forever the teacher. I like to read along.
I chose Love on 157.
Okay.
And I just thought that this was a good, I love the way you attacked it, all right?
Okay, I'm there.
I have come to the realization. Okay, let me get this together.
No, you got it. It's already together.
I've come to the realization that no one, I can't see this.
The words are, I got to tell you, the words are kind of tiny.
I know, that's right. I got to just get some light.
And you don't have to read the whole thing, just a stanza or two.
Okay.
Really holds, you know, that hit you.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites, by the way, I wanted to say.
Oh my God, let me see. Oh, I can't read this. All right, let's see if we can get this together.
We're gonna get it in the light.
And you got a wonderful, your wonderful son is there too. Listen, we're open. You can be on screen too, or you. It's a family thing for sure.
Okay. All right. I've come to the realization that no man on earth will ever be able to comprehend the depths of love I have to offer. For I'm a stranger to myself when it comes to this. My love flows like water, reaching levels deep beyond the surface. My love expands, contracts, opens again in the presence and shape of a lover before me, of the lover before me. I think that's enough.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, and you see that particular line, those lines encompass, you know, like you said, my love takes shape based on the lover before me. Love is a communication. And if it's not a communication, it's no love.
It's no love. And bring your face. I want to get your full face.
Okay.
So tilt the camera. Right. Yes. I don't want to miss the moment.
Love is a communication. I mean, like, for example, unfortunately, we have an orange clown in the White House who is, people say he's narcissistic, and narcissist was a person who fell in love with himself. Trump doesn't really love himself. Trump really hates himself.
I agree.
And it's his insecurity of him being he's a man who did not receive love. Something he was missing in his life.
Yes.
Because if he had received love as a youngster, forget all the money his family had and all the contacts that he's made with different perverted people. If he had received honest love, he would think differently. He would be more empathetic. He would be more compassionate. He would have that ability to be a human being and maybe even be a halfway decent leader. But because he is missing these things, he is still at that infantile stage where he is yelling, screaming for attention. Look at me, endorse me, say I'm great, say I'm wonderful. Look at me, endorse me, say I'm great, say I'm wonderful. And he knows he's not great. He knows he's not wonderful. He's everything on the opposite side. It's sad because they're allowing him to play in his diapers, and we don't need that type of leadership in America. We need something more wholesome.
And we need something more wholesome, and it is indeed the love that is missing. I want to thank you for everything that you shared. My mind has expanded. It's like, you know, an accordion. It's out, it went in, it's out, it went in. And I can't fully express the honor that is mine in spending this time with you, Brother Dune. Thank you for your recitation of Black Rose. Thank you for always your honest and on point political examination of where we are and as a people and where we're going. Thank you for reading that piece of love, and then relating it to where we are today. I thank you for this time. I am so excited that you are the premier guest of Fall Into the Vortex with Yolie. And I hope for you, I hope it has been for you the blessing it has been for me.
It's been a blessing, Yolanda, and I want to give my love to you and your daughter.
Thank you.
And you just keep on writing. We need more love, honey. That's our biggest weapon. But if not used properly, it can also be our biggest downfall.
And on that note, good night, y'all. Thank you for falling into the vortex with Yolie and Brother Dune. Peace.
Peace.